The question is that the document be noted. The member for Dawson.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. As a member representing a regional area, I have a keen interest in communication technology and how it can level the playing field for the regions. Regional Australia and the bush have always been at a disadvantage due to reduced access to services and facilities, or indeed, in some cases, no access at all. Communication technology has managed to bridge some of these gaps, and upgrade to Australia's broadband infrastructure could bring services and the bush closer. However, the Liberal National Coalition believe Labor's NBN will fall well short of the mark. The Standing Committee on Infrastructure and the Communications report on broadening the debate inquiry into the role and potential of the national broadband network should have been a warning that the planned NBN would fall short of the mark. Had this report been conducted at the appropriate time, that is before the rollout of a $43 billion NBN, and I'm expecting that to be even higher, somewhere over $50 billion, it might have gathered the information required to make an informed, unbiased report. That might have resulted in an upgrade to our broadband infrastructure that truly closed the gap for regional and rural areas. Instead, this report is clearly a politically motivated exercise to provide a manufactured support for the government's poor policy decision. This report sets out to find information that it could use to support the Gillard government's NBN program that is already being rolled out. What we have seen with the rollout of the NBN to date is nothing more than a political campaign. There was not enough planning and research prior to the policy announcement of the NBN in 2009. You cannot conduct an inquiry halfway through the process because the government is hardly going to produce a report that tells the truth, and that is that the NBN that you've already rolled out is not a good idea. Key elements of the rollout have been determined by political advantage, and it has still been a disaster. The rollout has been a case of shoot first and ask questions later. Don't worry about consulting with the industry, just start rolling it out. Don't worry about planning how it works, just start rolling it out. And don't worry about the benefits it will, or more importantly, it won't provide, just start rolling it out. The government has shot first and then asked the question later. And here's the question in this report. Believing in the mantra, build it and they will come, this government thought if they just threw $1 billion around and built something, the people would come. And so they built something. They started to roll out an NBN, and guess what? The people didn't come. But wait a second, yes they did. Some did. When the Prime Minister and Communications Minister, along with the member for New England, pushed this big red novelty button to apparently turn on the NBN in New England, how many people were hooked up to the service? How many people do you think hooked up to this NBN? 7. 7 people. And one of those 7 infamously admitted he hooked up to the service just so he could play World of Warcraft online faster. So the Gillard government rolling out what probably will end up being a $50 billion plus taxpayer-funded piece of infrastructure so a sword-wielding virtual elf warrior can slay orcs and trolls a little more quicker and realistically. If this report had been done at the start, it might have warned why people would not come. The people did not come because they don't want fibre to the home, unless they want to be an elven warrior. The demand simply isn't there. The report covers examples of some of the great things that high-speed communication technology can do. But there's a few problems with those examples. First, there are very, very few examples of applications that require the 100 megabits that fibre would provide. The high-speed, real-life video conferencing that links perhaps a specialist in the city with a patient in the bush is done with a speed of 20 megabits. I note that among the examples cited in the report is a trial of aged care technology in the Hunter region. The technology provided video and voice communications with the elderly, and according to the report, was a successful application of NBN. What the report doesn't mention is the fact that this technology required a speed of just 512 kilobits per second. That's only 0.5% of the NBN's 100 megabit capability. This is an issue that's noted by Dr. Michael Williams, the Director of Child and Adolescent Health Service at the Mackay-based hospital in my electorate of Dawson. He said, and I quote, "Good telehealth services are and can be provided using current technology and facilities. It is not necessary, I repeat, it is not necessary to have the NBN deliver much more effective telehealth." I should note also that Dr. Williams does not make this comment as a Liberal National Party stooge or a supporter of the Liberal National Party. On the contrary, Dr. Williams is the president of the Mackay Conservation Group and an avid supporter of the Greens, the very same party that is in bed with Labor on the rollout of the NBN. The second problem with examples of this nature is the constant bleating about linking remote and rural communities with the specialists in the city. The NBN will not be in truly remote and rural communities. Remote communities and much of rural Australia access broadband through wireless and satellite technology right now, and under the NBN they will actually continue to do so, but worse still, at much lower speeds than their capital city counterparts and in fact regional city counterparts, and quite possibly at much higher costs than they currently pay. I want to turn now to the little rural parish of Kelsey Creek, this small rural area, cane growing area, next to Proserpine in my electorate of Dawson. Kelsey Creek is probably like many other small rural parishes in my electorate, places like St Helens Beach, McEwen's Beach, Dunrock, Strathdickey, Garoo or Kungulla. And most possibly all of these places, or most of these places, just like Kelsey Creek, will receive a satellite service under the NBN. And I'm reliably informed by Kelsey Creek resident Mr Lloyd Fox, who some might kindly refer to as very IT literate, and his son Justin, that the NBN will actually be detrimental to their particular situation when it comes to internet access. Currently the access that the Fox family have is to satellite internet through the internet provider SkyMesh, and they have a monthly download limit of 6 gigabytes of peak data and 12 gigabytes off-peak data at a cost to them, to their family, of $89.95 per month. That's what they currently get, not NBN. And under the NBN proposal, the only comparable satellite service, and they have to go through a satellite service because the wireless won't go to this rural or remote community, the optic fibre won't go to this rural and remote community. The only service they'll get under the NBN is satellite, and that service costs $99.95 per month. An additional $10 a month, that the NBN is costing in comparison to existing internet services, or $120 a year, and most importantly, putting upward price pressures across the ISP sector. And perhaps if young Justin Fox and his dad weren't so internet literate and the Fox family just used it for their emails, they might be on a simple 1 gig data plan, costing them a very affordable and reasonable $19.95 per month through their current satellite provider. The NBN satellite alternative for the same 1 gigabyte service comes at a price tag of $44.95 per month. That's $25 a month dearer, $300 extra a year, and this will, without doubt, see ISPs providing satellite broadband putting their prices up across the board. The biggest impediment that we have in this country to broadband access is cost, particularly for people in rural areas who, I'm very reliably informed by the good people at the ABS, are much poorer in income than their city counterparts. And this cost pressure that the NBN will have on the provision of internet services, satellite internet services at places like Kelsey Creek or McEwen's Beach or Guru or Congala in my electorate is only going to further erode the ability of many families to be connected to the internet and the digital economy. This government is actually denying rural people access to broadband through this NBN package. One aspect of this report that should have been considered prior to any rollout is the evidence that points to a better approach, an approach that bridges the gap and secures a better deal for rural and remote areas. And I would like to talk briefly about black spots and communication black spots, because the NBN that is being rolled out at the moment doesn't address communication black spots at all. To highlight the significance of black spots in our communications network, I want to bring to the attention of one particular tragedy in a black spot in my electorate of Dawson. In December last year, a young teenage girl drowned at a popular swimming hole near Alligator Creek. Shanice Perry Shepherd was 17 when her foot became wedged between rocks in the creek, and a freak surge of water resulting from an exceptionally heavy downpour rapidly rose, and her friends, unable to free her, tried to call for help on mobile phones. This popular swimming hole is a black spot, and her friends were just unable to raise the alarm in time, and Shanice drowned in her friend's arms. And I have raised the specific issue in this place before to point out what hasn't been done with existing communications. But I'm actually pleased to say that since then, the community support has prompted Telstra to address this particular issue, but with no thanks to the government. The government can roll out billions of dollars on the NBN, but that NBN will do nothing for telecommunications to prevent tragedies like this occurring in the future. And every day, in less tragic ways, black spots in our communications network hinder businesses and the lifestyles of everyday people in regional and remote areas. Businesses in Mackay or Townsville, they don't need the NBN. They need the current communications to work, mobile phones to work, the black spots to be cleaned up. And there are issues that should have been covered by a report before any alleged solution is rolled out. And the final point on this NBN is this, Mr Deputy Speaker, and for the benefit of Hansard, I'm holding up in my hand at the moment a BlackBerry mobile phone. It could be an iPhone, it could be an iPad or an EPC with wireless broadband capability. But the point is this: as one of the younger members in this place at 33 years of age, still a long way in front of the member for Longman, I can say that the trend for our generation with technology is mobility. It's mobility, it's wireless. And yet here we are investing tens of billions of dollars in a wired network that is the NBN. It just simply doesn't make sense, Mr Deputy Speaker.
Question is that the document be noted.